1977 was the year the East African community collapsed. The last gasp came in January, when the debt-ridden East African Airways halted flights due to non-remittance of money by Tanzania and Uganda to the airline's headquarters in Nairobi. Kenya refused to keep the airline flying and instead set up its own national airline, Kenya Airways. Within days, Tanzania closed her border with Kenya and impounded more than 200 million Kenya shillings worth of Kenyan vehicles, aircraft and goods. It would later pull out of the East African Harbours Corporation and set up its own harbours operations. Tanzania's closure of the border prompted Kenya to pull out of the remaining common services. By May, all community services had ground to a halt, as all member states failed to remit funds to the community headquarters in Arusha. On May 31st, Kenya recalled all her staff working at the headquarters and community corporation offices situated in Tanzania and Uganda. In July, President Jomo Kenyatta recalled Robert Ouko, the East African Minister for Common Market and Economic Affairs, nominated him to the Kenya Parliament and appointed him to the cabinet as Minister in charge of East African Community Services. Ouko's new job would be to look after Kenya's interests during the process of dismantling the community and sharing out its assets and liabilities. With the community gone, Kenyans now turned to local political matters, the most important of which was the bitter power struggle going on amongst the country's leaders about a successor to President Jomo Kenyatta, who was ailing. The previous year, the cabinet had stopped public campaigns by the Gikuyu, Embu and Meru Association (GEMA) to amend the constitution to bar a vice president from automatically succeeding a president in the event of the latter's death. But the presidential succession issue would become the big factor in the campaigns for control of the ruling party, the Kenya African National Union (KANU), especially after KANU Acting Secretary General Robert Matano announced that national party elections would begin that year and culminate in a delegates' conference to elect a new national executive in April. From the beginning, the elections were seen as a clash between the two major camps in the ruling party. Those wanting a change in the constitution to bar Vice President Moi from automatically succeeding Kenyatta in the event of his death, and those for a status quo in the constitutional provisions for presidential succession. The Change the Constitution group was led by former Dagoretti MP and former Minister for Foreign Affairs Njoroge Muigai, while Moi led the camp of the incumbents. As it turned out, the battle did not materialize. On April 2nd, the eve of the party elections, and with thousands of delegates already converged in Nairobi from all quarters of the country, Matano made the surprise announcement that due to what he called unavoidable circumstances, beyond our control, there would be no elections. He did not explain the unavoidable circumstances, but speculation had it that Kenyatta, who was expected to come from Nakuru to chair the conference, was not feeling well. 1977 was also the year 3 MPs got into trouble with Kenyatta's government. In February, Makuyu MP Jesse Gashago and Embakasi MP Godfrey Muhuri Mushiri got jailed after being found guilty of stealing nearly 500 bags of coffee in transit from Uganda to Mombasa, in a case that many observers considered political. In July, Kitutu East MP George Anyona was detained after claiming in Parliament that Attorney General Charles Njonjo and the Minister for Power and Communications, Isaac Omolo Okero, were involved in some fiddle over a tender to supply equipment to Kenya Railways Corporation. Anyona would not be the only person detained that year. On December 31st, novelist and Nairobi University literature lecturer Ngugi wa Thiong'o was detained following the staging in Limuru of a play that the government thought was an attempt to stir up animosity between various sections of the Kikuyu community on the basis of their respective roles during the Mau Mau Rebellion. In business, 1977 was the year General Motors of the United States began motor vehicle assembly in Nairobi, in partnership with the government. And in sports, Sweden's Björn Waldegard won the year's Safari Rally, which saw only 12, the so-called Dirty Dozen cars, finish out of 68 starters.